Welcome everybody to Warrior Weekly. I'm Lucas DeGarmo alongside Travis Whipple for this week's edition. Starting with women's basketball, Travis, they had a great exhibition season going 2-1 against Division I opponents in exhibition play. They got to be impressed with that.
Yeah, anytime, especially with some young student athletes that they have on their team, some newcomers, it's never easy, and going into some hostile environments to come away 2-1 against Division I opponents, and one of them being a team that was picked in the top 3 in the Big Ten. That's very impressive, and it's going to help down the road. You saw they were close games, so it's going to help at the end of the season when it's conference tournament time or trying to win a conference title.
No doubt about it, and the Warriors moved to 1-0 last night as they beat St. Mary's, a crosstown rival. The final score in that game was 84-77, and Anna Wirtz had such a great game, and she had a great exhibition season as well. She's no doubt the senior leader of that women's basketball team. Talk a little bit about her and what she brings to the table.
Yeah, she's dynamic. She can make shots for you. You've got to, as an opponent, you've got to defend her all over the court, and you saw it last night in that 84-47 win, is that she can make shots from deep. She hit a couple at the end of the shot clock that, what can you do about that if you're the opponent? So it's good to see. I think that she's also helped provide and work with the younger girls to provide a balance that helps out her, not only her, but everybody else. Last night they had Dulas, who was in double figures, and Glander as well. And so when you've got that balance, it's going to be tough to defend, especially tough to defend Wirtz.
Yeah, and you mentioned some of those younger players like Wolf and Dulas, and they're just doing tremendous things for the basketball team. And you got to be impressed with how quickly they've progressed from being in high school to now being at a college level. They did great in the exhibition games, and it's just a lot of positive things happening for the women's basketball team. Dulas had 13 points in that win last night against St. Mary's, and then it can't go unmentioned the defensive effort that Bonnie Bjorky put together. Nine different players had a rebound in that game. We ought to mention that because it just shows you how versatile, how all the players can do so many great things offensively as well as defensive. Bjorky added 8 rebounds and just had an outstanding defensive performance.
Yeah, she's going to be the anchor of this defense. She blocked shots, she was active, but then also pulled down the 8 rebounds. And like you said, to have 9 players all getting at least a rebound is exceptional. That's a good team effort. They also had 9 players that scored in the game, so that's tremendous, and the good balance we talked about. They forced 22 turnovers on the game. That's something to really write home about. I think that their defensive, the way they played defense all year, including the exhibition games, has impressed me the most about this team, and that's going to be, probably the anchor of this team.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And looking ahead for Warrior women's basketball, up next Friday, November 20th, they go up to St. Paul and play at Concordia University. They play 2 games, one on Friday at 12 p.m. noon against UW Parkside, a Division II school from across the river. And then Saturday, November 21st, they play at 2 p.m. against Nebraska Kearney. So hopefully the Warriors women can go on the road and get some victories in that tournament.
Yeah, these are 2 good early season matchups for them. Parkside is a team that was ranked last year, and they've got a lot coming back, and then obviously the Kearney is a good in-region matchup that's going to help the strength of schedule and things like that. So, a good tournament on a neutral site up in Concordia, and then they come back home Tuesday, November 24th against Clark College of Iowa. 7 p.m. tip-off here in McCowan Gym.
We look forward to that. Moving on to men's basketball, they also played the second half of that doubleheader last night, beating UW Stout. Travis, you and I were on the call that game. The Warriors won 83-66. They advanced to 1-0 in the regular season to start off the 2009-2010 season, and it was really a story of 2 halves is a good way to put it. They didn't play as well, and we talked to assistant coach Brady Moore afterwards, and he said the same thing. They didn't play as well as they had hoped in the first half, but they really made a lot of adjustments going into the second half and played a different ball game.
Yeah, and it's good to see that, again, a team that's got some young players, a few transfers from Division I institutions. So it's good to see them coming together, following the game plan in the second half. Like you said, it really was a story of 2 halves. They got out to a 15-0 run to start the second half, which is good to see. They handled that pressure of Stout a lot better, which really made the difference, I think.
David Johnson led the way with 21 points. We talked about this last night as well. He's a senior leader. He's going to be the guy the Warriors go to. He's going to have to make his shot shots, and he did that last night, did that in the exhibition games as well. C.J. Erickson is also a great player, 19 points, 7 rebounds. He had a great game.
Yeah, C.J. is a guy that's all over the place, offensively and defensively. I really like the leadership that he's displaying out there on the court as well. You know, he's getting after his teammates and encouraging them in a positive way. That's good to see, but you're right. David Johnson's going to be the catalyst, the guy that we need to score and play well for us.
Ben Fisher led the way with assists. It really played a true point guard last night. As I said, 10 assists, 7 points, 4 rebounds. He can do it all.
Yeah, he's great at creating shots for other people, and you know, I think we want him to continue to be aggressive and looking for his own sometimes. He's so unselfish that he's looking for everybody else, but he did a great job all across the board. And again, I think a great guy with a lot of athleticism to pick up some rebounds for him, which they're going to need, and we touched on that at the broadcast last night, that rebounding is something this team needs to continue to work on. They did win the edge on the boards last night, which is good to see.
As you mentioned, yeah, rebounding is a story. They won 35-32 as far as the rebounding category goes. So that's what the Warriors are going to have to keep working at when they start playing those bigger teams in the NSIC once conference play begins, once Hoops Fest starts here in a couple of weeks. So we look forward to that. Their next matchup, of course, they're hosting a tournament this weekend, the Merchants Tip-Off Classic, and Merchants Bank Tip-Off Classic, I should say. Friday, November 20th, 7 p.m. is going to be their first game against Clark College, and then Saturday, November 21st at 7 p.m. as well, and they'll play the winner, of course, of the other teams in the tournament.
Yeah, it should be a great tournament. We're excited to have it here on campus. I think it's going to do a lot for the community and bringing people in and things like that. So we're excited, and we're glad that Merchants Bank has partnered with us on this. You know, looking at the field, Cardinal Stritch is a team that went in and beat the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, which is a Division I school, in exhibition play. So, you know, that's exciting. Palm Beach Atlantic has always got a good tradition, and so they're another Division II school, so we're glad to bring them in. And then Clark out of Iowa. You know, you see it every game that we play, you've got to play to the best of your abilities, and we'll see that this weekend. Should be an exciting matchup.
And, of course, for NSIC Hoops Fest, we'll do a broadcast of Warrior Weekly on the road, which is going to be a treat for us to do, and the Warriors play again Crookston and Mankato, and that's going to be a tough test against Mankato.
Yeah, you know, like we talked about earlier, it's a tough test against every team you play in the NSIC. There's so much parity. It's great. These are good early season matchups that don't count on the NSIC standings, but they do go for regional rankings and everything like that. And you know, obviously Mankato is a huge rivalry of ours, and you know, there's been some good games between the two of us the last couple of years. So it's an exciting matchup, and I'm excited to be on the road at Hoops Fest with you.
Yeah, it'll be fun to call those games live on 89.5 KQL, your home for Warrior basketball. Moving on now to volleyball, they wrapped up their season. Travis won 4 of their last 5 to finish. You know, they were down a little bit at times this season, but it's really great to see them in the last stretch of the season win 4 out of their last 5. Yeah,
anytime that you can peak at the end of your season and play your best volleyball, the better off that you're going to be, especially for next season. You know, they do have a great group of young, talented student athletes coming back next year. And you know, we heard a lot of Shannon McGowan and Victoria Weatherly this year, and I think you really build a program around those 2 student athletes. And you know, we'll catch up with Dave Simon, the head coach, here in a little bit, and I'm sure he's going to shed some light on some of the recruits he's got coming in and things like that. But it's exciting to be around him right now.
Yeah, and you mentioned Victoria Weatherly. She had 46 assists on the season. Shannon McGowan, 23 digs, and she did an outstanding job all season long. And Carmen Stankowski, 15 kills and 13 digs, and they beat Bemidji State 3 games to none. So that's impressive, again, to end your season on that high note. And of course, the Warrior volleyball team lost to Duluth 0 games to 3, and Weatherly had 23 assists, Shannon McGowan 8 digs. Overall, they finished 11-20.
Yeah, you know, it's great to see them, you know, a team in Bemidji State specifically, they lost to earlier in the year at home. So, you know, it's great to go out to Bemidji and get a win here at the end of the year. They finished 9-11 in the NSIC, which is the toughest Division II conference in volleyball. And, you know, it's really beginning to be that way across the board in all sports. But, you know, there's 5 teams in the NSIC ranked in the top 25 nationally. And so it's a tough league every night.
No doubt about it. Travis mentioned that we'll talk to head coach Dave Simon. We're going to do that, and to wrap up the volleyball season, here is that interview with head coach Dave Simon.
Warrior fans, we are all access with head coach of Warrior Volleyball, Dave Simon. Coach, congratulations on a good year, winning 4 of your last 5 matches. Can you tell us a little bit about a highlight for your first year as head coach?
Well, I think a highlight was just being able to coach this group of athletes. We had a nice mix of 6 seniors, which is a really big class for our volleyball team, and some really good freshmen. And it took us a while to blend, and we got the peaking part right. We kind of peaked right at the end, but we just didn't have enough wins early in the season. But that's really the highlight. I mean, it was just to see those 6 seniors out in a good fashion, I think, was a highlight for everybody.
It was excellent to see, and like we said, 4 of the last 5, and it went 9-11 in the toughest conference in Division II. Can you talk a little bit about the strength of the NSIC?
Well, the strength of the NSIC is, not only in volleyball, but in all sports, you can certainly point to it being the toughest conference in Division II conference in the country. But in volleyball, with 5 teams ranked in the top 20, and with Concordia on the run that they've been on the last couple of years, certainly makes us the strongest rated conference in the country. And to finish in the top half of the league, we ended up in a tie for 7th, which was really one of our goals at the beginning of the year, was to finish in the top half. So we felt pretty good about that. Obviously, as a coach, you go back and you look over this match and that match, and you pick off 2 or 3 or 4 that you think you should have had during the year that could even spun you better. But we're pretty pleased to compete every night. That's the thing. I think there were maybe 2 matches out of the 20 all year in conference that we felt like we didn't compete. And every other night we went out and competed hard and gave ourselves a chance.
Yeah, you competed hard, and it was really fun to watch. Now, can you talk a little bit? You said you've got some great youngsters coming back, freshmen, sophomores. Can you talk a little bit about your underclassmen?
Well, obviously, I think that would start with Shannon McGowan, our libero. Shannon just really came on this year and had a fabulous year, and she, was a first-team all-conference player, which in our conference, when you have the Slinger kid from Concordia St. Paul, who's an All-American at libero, and for Shannon to be looked at in the same light as she is, all-conference, and leading the NSIC and digs per set, and at the last glance, Shannon was 2nd in the country in Division II in digs per set. So I think, obviously, looking forward, we build around Shannon with our defense.
Yeah, and what do you need to bring in to build around Shannon? 4 times this year she was NSIC Defensive Player of the Year. So what are you looking to bring in this next year?
Well, as far as looking to bring in, we have a big class to replace with the 6 seniors, and so when we start looking at roster size and management, we kind of like that number of 14 to 16 players on our roster, and we had 14 this year, so we'll lose 6. So 8 returners, it means we need to bring in at least 6. So we're going to sign 3 kids in the early signing period. We have a couple of outside hitters from Minnesota, from the Twin Cities area, probably 2 of the top 5 or 6 outsides in the state of Minnesota. Other than the Whitman kid who's going to the U, that level. But and then we have a setter right side from Wisconsin. So those 3 kids will be coming in, and then we're looking still for a couple of middle hitters to add to the fold.
Excellent. This has been All Access with head coach Dave Simon. Look forward to an exciting group of young players next year for Warrior Volleyball.
That was head coach Dave Simon with the Warrior Volleyball team. Thanks for listening to this week's edition of Warrior Weekly. I'm Lucas DeGarmo for Travis Whipple, and we'll see all of you this weekend at the Merchants Bank Tip-Off Classic.